I can literally say I intercepted an assassination attempt. When I talk about God having his hand, I'm talking about money on my head. I'm talking about face-to-face gunfights. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I wasn't for sure I could give it the justice that it deserves. This is a story that I'll never forget. 1990s, maybe 97. Not for sure the exact year or date, but I remember the incident like it was yesterday. The story is a great example of Usalamu and how Usalamu over time can be woven into your instincts. When I talk about being a part of your get down, it started one late night back in the neighborhood. In 97, things was cracking real tough. We used to hang out in these apartments called the Dunes. We had 7 or 8 apartments in the complex that we had access to at any given time. So, you know, we were up in there chilling. So one night we were up in there chilling. There was several homies. One of my loved ones, rest in peace, Dulo, the guy, he was there. One of his road dogs, the homie Tricky from the fam, he was there. We were on our way to 7-Eleven at the time. I was heated, but for some reason, I felt irritated. I really didn't want to take the strap with me. So I had put it up in one of the apartments in the complex, or in the building, because I thought the homie, Dulo, had his heat. I knew at that time he had a little bit of artillery, and so I thought he had that with him. So when I met him at the car, I asked him, hey man, you got that thing? He was like, nah, I let somebody else use it. So I was like, damn. Now mind you, I didn't really want to take my heat, but under the circumstances, there was a lot of things going on at that time. So I went back to the apartment that I stashed it in and got it. So we left the Dunes, we drove up to the 7-Eleven. As we pulled into the parking lot, they jumped out the car and went inside. Mind you, I still wasn't feeling comfortable. I was just at ease. So I took it out, I put it up under the seat of the car. I put it up under the seat, pulled it back out. Something said, man, put it in your waistband and put your shirt over it. So I'd been in the car a few minutes. They were already in the store. So I got out. As I got out of the car, I see a burgundy, I don't know if it's a Regal or a Cutlass, drive down the side street. For some reason, it nagged at my senses. So I immediately go inside the store and I ask my young homie, Dulo, did he recognize or know the car? So he tells me that some chicks earlier in the day had been telling him that the car had been driving around, hitting people up. So that really kind of bothered me. So that really kind of had me on edge. So something kept nagging, go outside and look around the 7-Eleven and see where this car went. So as I'm walking to the door, of the 7-Eleven, I tell the guy at the counter to give me I think it was a chocolate Philly or something. So as I walk to the door, the guy's telling me, hey man, do you want the Philly or what? So I turn back around, I go back to the counter, I throw some change on the counter. Something's telling me, go outside and look around the building and see where this car went. So I walk outside. As I'm walking across the front of the 7-Eleven to the corner of the building, I see a guy hit the corner. First thing I notice is his hand is like this. So I'm watching his hands. The minute I saw that his hands were cocked, I drew on him. Now I've got to give you some context. He didn't know at that particular time I was on the run, because during that time my twins were in their mother's stomach. The parents of the grandkids that some of you may have seen in some of my videos. Well, their parents were 4 months in their mother's belly. Someone attempted to have her miscarriage. They threw a brick at her, missed her stomach, and hit her in the leg. That individual was shot in the hip, and I was accused of it. Long story short, I ended up fighting the case and I ended up beating it. But initially I went to jail. So I bailed out, and I ran on the bail because I wanted to be there to see my twins born. So I was on the run, hanging out, laying low. We had a spot at the time. So I was pretty much in the spot 24/7. Everybody else, they would come and go. I was pretty much there most of the time because I was on the run, like I said. So I had this holster, and I had this full-length mirror. And so every day I was doing 200, 300 draws of variations with the holster. So now to this incident in front of the 7-Eleven. He not knowing I was going to have him beat to the draw. On top of the fact, I still had a level 4 mindset. My Usalamu was interwoven in my get down and my instincts. As I drew, I saw fire come up out of his gun twice. I know I let off 4 or 5 times. He proceeded to duck back around the corner of the 7-Eleven. I ran to the corner of the 7-Eleven. I didn't see anybody. But halfway down the block, I saw the brake lights of the Burgundy Regal or Cutlass, or whatever it was, in the middle of the street. So my instincts had been right. I didn't see old boy, so maybe he was hugging the buildings. So I ran back to the corner of the 7-Eleven where the concrete and the glass meet. I didn't see anybody in 7-Eleven. The homie and them had ran into the back storage with the 7-Eleven employee. So I'm banging on the glass. I run back to the corner of the 7-Eleven because I still had some shells on me if I needed to reload. I had a revolver at the time. Car was gone. I didn't see the guy. I run back to the corner of 7-Eleven. I bang on the glass again. They come out the back. I tell them to come on, man, let's go. I'm pissed off because I know there's cameras all in the front of this 7-Eleven. We jump in the car and we peel out. Now, I've gone over that whole incident step by step. Remember I told you before we left the apartment complex, I had put the gun up thinking that my homeboy, I had put the heat up thinking that my homeboy and them had some heat. And they didn't, because I didn't want to take it. But something nagged at me. So I took it anyway. I told you when I got to the 7-Eleven, I sat in the car fiddling with the heat for a few minutes because I didn't want to take it in. But something nagged at me and told me to take it in anyway. As I got out the car, I seen the car drive down the street. And for some reason, my senses told me to pay attention to that car and don't take it for granted. And so I went in immediately and asked my young homie, Dulo, was he familiar with the car? Which his response was, they had been hitting people up earlier that day. My senses still nagged at me to go outside and look and see where that car went. If I had not, either he would have came in the 7-Eleven and gunned us, or he would have caught us coming out of the 7-Eleven. And one thing I don't do is I'm not going to plead with you about my life. If you think you can take it, then you're going to have to make that move. If you blink, I'm going to move. Usalamu, as a part of my get down, wouldn't let it rest. Made me see that through. Go outside, look, and see where that car went. And when I stepped out the 7-Eleven door, and I seen the guy hit the corner, my prison senses said, watch his hands. And the minute I saw his hands cocked, I drew on him. I beat him to the draw. Yeah, he got off twice, but he got off in fear. He got off as he was retreating. He thought he had one. Usalamu said otherwise. This is why I speak and emphasize about Usalamu being a part of your get down. Being in tune with Usalamu. Usalamu being interwoven in your get down. I know for a fact it can save your life. I hope that I did this story justice. And I want to give a shout out to my homie, Dulo. Rest in peace, dog. And I also want to give a shout out to the homie Tricky. Much love. You already know, man. I've been through the fire with both of them brothers. And I'm glad you're still here, dog. This is dedicated to you as well. It's Dr. Little John from a G perspective. Peace. I'm out. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up.